Good morning. I hope you all got a great night's rest because our topic today is the vital role of sleep. And as you all know, I'm extremely into health and helping you reach that peak of your best health and wellness and total strength. So we have to talk about sleep because of all of the things we've discussed so far. You might find it a big surprise that sleep is actually number one. Okay, so let's talk about some statistics of sleep just to clue you in on how vital it really is. So, first of all, 2/3 of adults do not get the required sleep that they need. That's pretty huge. So, how does that affect us? Well, studies have shown that sleep under 6 to 7 hours, so if you're getting less than that, it completely demolishes your immune system. And in turn, it doubles your risk of cancer. And it also is proven to shorten your lifespan. So we can see just from that statistic alone, wow, sleep is extremely vital. The third thing is it is the number one link to Alzheimer's. So people that have issues with sleep in their whole life often end up with Alzheimer's. It's a major link. Number 4, it disrupts your blood sugar, which then leads to diabetes. And we've talked a lot about how that has become such an epidemic anymore. Number 5, it increases your risk of stroke, cardiovascular disease, and coronary heart failure. Number 6, it contributes to not one or two, but truly all psychiatric conditions. Anything from depression to anxiety to schizophrenia, bipolar, suicidal tendencies. That is all linked to a lack of sleep. And number 7, it's absolutely proven that it makes you gain weight. And the reason why you're gaining weight is because when you don't get enough sleep, number 1, you have concentration issues. And when you can't concentrate well, your body is going to easily be pulled into its comfort zone, which is just feeding and fueling your flesh rather than being purposefully driven. And what it also does is it actually turns off the sensory hormone that tells your body that you're satisfied when you're eating. So when you do eat and you're tired, you actually overeat. So that is one of the main reasons why it helps you to gain weight. So those are 7 reasons, or 7 statistics, I guess you could say, on sleep. So this other one that I found, which I thought was really kind of shocking, is in every developed country, the average is that one person dies each hour due to a fatigue-related accident. So when you combine all of the drug and alcohol deaths daily, the fatigue-related accidents actually are higher than death from drugs and alcohol combined. So this is a really critical thing that needs to be brought to our attention because obviously we are failing miserably in this. And especially in countries like America where everything is just about, earning the dollar, working harder, and stretching yourself as far as you can to be the most profitable. Well, by us doing that, we're actually destroying our health. And if we don't have health, you're not going to be making money. You're not going to be successful in a career. You're not going to be there for your family, your friends, your loved ones. So this needs to become a very, very big priority in your life. And honestly, I feel like it's what doctors should be prescribing to people. You know what? You don't need another pill. You need sleep. Your body needs to rest because we're constantly in this state of stress, constantly in a state of motion and doing things and never just resting and letting our bodies recover. Sleep is so restorative and so critical. And so I want to talk about what I call the trinity of health. So I drew up a little diagram so you guys could see visually. Okay, so in your triangle of health, sleep is down here as the foundation. This is number 1. Number 2 would be diet. And then number 3, exercise. All of these things lead to peak health. So when we don't have the foundation of sleep, it's kind of like this. I'm putting my board down for a second. So here's our pyramid. Now we know sleep's here at the bottom. When we don't have sleep, our foundation falls out. Our diet and exercise, no amount. They actually say even a perfect day of nutrition and exercise can be fully sabotaged if we have a bad night's sleep. So I feel like hardly any of us are taking our sleep that seriously and realizing, wow, it's actually more important than my daily workout. It's more important than the food I'm putting in my body. So sleep is number one. You don't want to miss out on it. You need to make this a priority. And let's talk about sleep aids. We've unfortunately got into a really bad habit, again, of adding more rather than saying, I just need to pull back and do what's very primitive. I just need sleep. I don't need melatonin. I don't need a sleeping drug. I don't need any of these additional things to try to coerce me to sleep. I just need to unplug, reset, and completely rest. So things like melatonin can become a very slippery slope because melatonin, although a lot of people see it as, oh, this is really helping me, this just helps me to get to sleep. It's not something that you want to ever have as a habit of. In fact, I just don't recommend it, period. So what it basically does is our body naturally produces melatonin when it's in a darkened environment and we've been awake for a certain amount of time, because what happens is when our body wakes up, it triggers the production of adenosine, and adenosine starts to rise throughout your day, and it continues to rise until it reaches its peak fullness, and that's usually around bedtime, or roughly anywhere between 12 hours after you've rose up to 16 hours, your body will reach that fullness of adenosine. So let's say you get to that fullness level and you don't listen to the trigger of your body saying you need to go to sleep. So instead you fight it, or you push caffeine in and say, well, I want to stay up later, so let me give this caffeine in here. And what that does is that caffeine sits on top of the adenosine and it kind of makes us forget for a second that we're tired. But that adenosine is still there and it's still full. So eventually that caffeine is going to wear off. And when it does, that adenosine is going to just shoot through the roof and we're going to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired now, I physically can hardly go on. And this is partly why people have these accidents. So what happens is, we talked earlier about needing to have more than 6 to 7 hours of sleep. So ideally, we've all heard like we need 8 hours. We truly do, you guys. We need 8 hours of sleep, if not more. And you can say, well, I've been living for 50 years and functioning just fine off of 5.5. Well, maybe you have. And that's great that you've made it so far. But just think of how much better your health could be if you were actually giving yourself the sleep that you needed. Because what happens is with that adenosine, as it raises, like we talked about, your body raises that to the amount of where you've been in bed for 8 hours. So let's say you went to bed and you didn't stay in bed for 8 hours. So what happens with that adenosine? Because if you wait all the way to 8 hours, by the time you hit that 8 hours, the adenosine starts to go bloop, and it drops completely out because it goes, oh, well, we reached the max. We completely drained it because we got our 8 hours. So if we have not drained it all the way back down from 8 hours, let's say we only slept 6 hours, it's only going to drain down. Now we have 2 hours that it is not going to be, it's going to have a deficit. It's going to have this excess. You're starting your morning now with these 2 hours of like, oh, I already feel so tired and groggy. And you're going to feel that right here in the center of your head. If you're feeling just really nasty right here, you didn't get enough sleep. And for all of us, you can kind of see where your level is, because you might wake up, because your alarm told you, hey, get up. But you might not, when you wake up, let's say my alarm goes off at 6 a.m., it might not be till 8:30 that this area starts to feel not so cruddy. It might take that long, truly, for my body to adjust and go, okay, she's awake now. We're ready to be awake. So if we continue to have the bad sleep patterns of less than 8 hours, eventually your body reaches this point of, now you're waking up and you still have maybe 6 hours of adenosine because it keeps collecting, you guys. It's like rollover minutes, but we don't want this. It's like rollover adenosine, and it's bad because now we have a day that starts, and let's say we had 4 days in a row of less sleep. All of a sudden, day 5, I wake up and it's like, did I even get rest? I don't even feel the least bit recovered and I'm just dragging all day long, just trying to get through my day. And then what do? We caffeinate, we caffeinate, we caffeinate. We just constantly try to feed the energy that we need, or we use sugar, to ramp ourselves up, and then we crash. And so these periods of raising and crashing and raising and crashing, they're so dangerous. And they're so unhealthy for us. So we've got to get on a better schedule and say, sleep is so crucial. I'm going to make this a major priority. So I'm going to sit down this week and go, okay, I know for work I have to be up by 6 a.m. So what does that mean? I cannot go to bed past 10 p.m. Period. I need to have at least 8 hours of time in my bed. Now, hopefully I can sleep all of that time. If you have a hard time falling asleep, go a little earlier. Start at 9:30 and go, okay, well, I'm going to give myself a half an hour to fall asleep. And just start doing this and see what happens. See how your life changes when you begin to get the sleep that you need so desperately. So please take this seriously. Get into a better sleeping habit. And if you have any other questions on sleep, please put them in the comments below. If you haven't already, please follow me, Casey Relane, on both Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to my YouTube channel to stay up to date on these health and fasting topics. Have an awesome day.